You'll all remember that we told you the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche sat for 2 days of interviews with Ghislaine Maxwell in a proffer session. The Deputy Attorney General and the DOJ has now released the full transcripts, or at least what they say are the full transcripts of their conversation, and you will be absolutely shocked to know that Ghislaine Maxwell doesn't implicate Donald Trump, doesn't implicate anybody powerful at all. Prince Andrew did nothing wrong. Bill Gates did nothing wrong. Jeffrey Epstein was a simple money manager. By the way, to the extent that anyone did anything wrong, it was Jeffrey Epstein. And it was, of course, after Ghislaine Maxwell was ever in the picture. Maxwell herself did nothing wrong. Nobody did anything wrong. And by the way, she would like her pardon immediately. She did say a few interesting things to the extent that we give credence at all. Let's keep in mind, every claim that she makes needs to be deeply scrutinized, and I will get into them. Let's go to the first part, shall we? Let's put it up here on the screen. This is the first most important section where Maxwell claims that she does not believe that Epstein, quote, died by suicide. She says, quote, "I do not believe he died by suicide." And Todd Blanche goes, "Do you believe that? Do you have any speculation or view if you killed him?" She says, "No, I don't." He continues, "I ask that because if you don't believe that and there's any truth for the allegation of blackmail, etc., did he have any reason for people to hate him? Why would somebody kill him in prison?" And she says, and this is something I keep emphasizing, people are like, how could they get somebody to kill him? Listen to her answer. In prison where I am, they will kill you or they will pay, somebody can pay a prisoner to kill you for $25 worth of commissary. That's about the going rate for a hit with a lock today. That is an important thing to underscore because he was in, MCC. People keep asking, they're like, who killed him? It's like, it's obviously another prisoner. These guys kill each other over literally 25-cent gambling debts to maintain respect. So the idea that it would be difficult for somebody to kill him, or especially to strangle him to death, is like so, that is the most plausible scenario. It's far more plausible than that he killed himself.
Right.
So anyway, the one piece of sense that Ghislaine was saying.
But even in that, guess who she doesn't implicate?
Yeah, that's right, of course.
The Trump administration.
And, not even just that, I mean, anybody.
Bill Barr, anyone powerful, right? And obviously it was the first Trump administration when Jeffrey Epstein died, however that unfolded. And so she's very careful to, I don't think he killed himself, but it was just some, prison beef is probably what happened. Nobody powerful was involved. Don't worry, you can trust me.
This whole thing is like a joke. Let's go to the next part here. This is her angling for her pardon, shall we? Quote, "I never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody in all the times I was with him. He was a gentleman in all respects." And she even says that, by the way, I just want to say that I find it so impressive that he was able to get himself elected president of the United States. Of course, I'm sure those are just, very normal feelings, right? Okay, now let me just again lay out how much of her testimony or whatever, her in her proffer session is just a provable lie. And this is the easiest one for me to point out. Let's put it up here on the screen. She told Todd Blanche directly that she built all of Epstein's houses, and the idea that there are cameras in them is preposterous. So here is the exact transcript. "From what you know, you do not believe a camera exists or a video camera exists or a camera that takes pictures inside any of his residences. Ghislaine Maxwell, correct. Here is a picture from Jeffrey Epstein's bedroom with a mounted surveillance camera above his bed. There are many other photos of surveillance cameras all over the 77th Street mansion. There are FBI acknowledgments that during the raids of his houses that they found cameras apparently everywhere." Like, this is the part where Todd Blanche doesn't even push back in any way. He's like, "Oh, so you're telling me there's no cameras? Okay." And she goes on this whole long spiel. She's like, "I built those houses from ground to, from floor to ceiling. I know every inch of them and the wiring. There's no cameras anywhere." And he's not sitting there being like, "Well, what about this photo of a camera?" Like, it's like, what? I'm just an idiot. I'm literally an idiot on YouTube who has read as much as I can about the Epstein case. And immediately I'm like, what are you talking about? Here's 10 photos of cameras in there. So did those cameras show up after you built the houses?
Right.
If they did, who put them in there? What was the name of the house manager? Who were the employees who would have known how to do something like that? What was the subcontracting firm because you claim to run all of his finances and know every inch of the desk? So many of the things that she said were total lies. Even worse, the way she tries to minimize everything that happened it's sickening. Like, I read all 400 pages of this lady's testimony. At every end, she's like, oh, that was Jeffrey. It was after I departed, or I never saw anything wrong. Like, oh, Prince Andrew, I met him through Diana's friend, and I don't wish to speak ill of her, but Andrew, he's so British, he would never do anything like that.
Oh,
and it's like, for Andrew, for Bill Gates, for Leon Black, for Les Wexner, it's like the most bullshit explanation that does not even pass a remote smell test. Blanche lets her get away with it. And the worst part is this will probably is already being used by the Epstein defenders. Look, see, she drove a knife in the heart of all of the Epstein conspiracy. Why would we listen to this lady? This lady was charged with perjury in 2020 for lying in a deposition. Now, to be fair, the prosecution ended up dropping the perjury for her sentencing because she'd already been convicted of the broader charge. Was going to send her for prison for 20 years. Like, open and shut, decent enough proof that she has lied under oath for a deposition.
Not only that, like, let's just be really clear about the context here.
Yeah.
This is a woman who wants
to get a pardon.
She's trying to get out, and she's trying to project, not just to Trump, but to anyone powerful, that you're not gonna have a problem with me. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. Your secrets are safe with me. I'm gonna be no issue. I'm not gonna implicate anyone. I'm gonna downplay this thing. We can all just move on. I mean, that's the point of this. And so even if she wasn't like a proven liar, which obviously she is, you have to think about what are her motivations. Obviously, she's not going to come forward and be, oh yeah, I saw Trump doing X and Y and Z. Oh yeah, Epstein was totally, an intel agent. Oh yeah, there were, cameras everywhere. Because the minute you acknowledge there are cameras everywhere too, that again confirms there's a lot of information out there that we have never been given access to. So that's why the camera piece is important. And it is one of the most easily disprovable pieces. I mean, didn't we get that information not only from a lot of witnesses who saw such things, but there was also when Epstein's mansion on the Upper East Side was, raided by law enforcement, they also weren't they part of, talking about the cameras that were there? Like this
they say it directly.
This is proven fact. This is not speculation. This is not conspiracy theory, et cetera. So it speaks to her credibility and the motivations that she has in this whole exchange.
Absolutely. Let's go to the next part, please, because, just to continue to give you guys a flavor of what we're all dealing with. This is Maxwell. I never saw a single masseuse ever look unhappy or not come back whatever. That's what we were dealing with. So she's like, so based on my observation, this is classic. I don't think that if you were being raped, as he's now like this prolific, I can't even imagine why you would return. Okay. All right. So it's like, when battered women, this is the justification that people make about battered women. They're like, well, if they wanted to leave so bad, they would just leave. I'm like, oh yeah, it's that simple. Okay. Talk to any cop who's ever had to go to a domestic violence call and some lady has her face broken in and she's like, oh, we didn't do anything wrong. Maybe there's a bigger context and some power dynamic and money exchange and blackmail or whatever, which is keeping people there. Just my opinion. Yeah. My opinion.
Well, and the testimony is that, dozens of girls down in Florida, in particular in Palm Beach, that she would intentionally go to rough areas of town where you had, girls from troubled homes who were in very difficult situations. They were desperate, she preyed on people who had already been abused, who were desperate for Virginia Giuffre being a perfect example of that, as a teenager, as a young teen at Mar-a-Lago, and she recognized this vulnerability, and those would be the girls that she would go after and prey on.
And of course, to her, she never did anything. She didn't even look at an underage person while she was ever worked for. I'm serious. That's the way that she talks in all of her testimony.
Remember, Trump even acknowledged that Virginia Giuffre was stolen from him by Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. All right.
When she was 16?
I believe so. Let's go to the next one. This is another one. He asks, do you have any reason to think that Epstein was part of Mossad or the CIA or any intelligence agency? She says, quote, I think it's bullshit because if it were true, then Epstein would have bragged about it to her or tried to play it off and tried to be cool about it. And so because he was never cool about it and didn't brag about it to her, that she thinks that it's all wrong. Now, let's keep that in context, this part specifically, for the next, which remains the central question of the entire Epstein mythology, which is, how did this guy make all of his money? Here is Maxwell's explanation on the type of services that he provided for Les Wexner and Leon Black. Quote, let's say you had $1 billion to invest. So you would, in people's normal investment portfolios, you would have, some T-bonds and this and that. But Epstein's strategies would be much more sophisticated. So again, we are to believe that the college dropout, non-accredited investor, Jeffrey Epstein, had, quote, sophisticated strategies that were only accessible to him and not to the richest and most powerful people in the world. There are richest, most powerful people in the world who use investment advisors of all kinds. Goldman Sachs, and they don't need to deal with Epstein. Why do they need to deal with the J. Epstein company? All right? Goldman and all those other people can get you into venture capital as an LP or any of that, and they can return on your portfolio for between 15 and 20% per year. Or you could just invest it in the S&P 500 and still get a decent enough deal. This does not pass the smell test at all. Leon Black, one of the most legendary investment advisors of all time, had to use Epstein and didn't have to use his own money. That's why I paid him $170 million. Again, Todd Blanche, no explanation. He doesn't challenge her. He's like, well, exactly what were the sophisticated strategies? She goes, he was just a whiz at math. What? No. No. This stuff is ridiculous. Well, if that were true, all of the people at the Harvard math department who he was constantly cultivating, or MIT or any of them, they would all be billionaires and be filthy rich. If that's not the case, is it? So it's just, that is the part where the explanation on everything is anodyne. Everything is just, he made his money by being smart. Nobody was abused except by him. I've learned about that after his death, of course. I didn't know about any of it at the time. Everything we ever did was above board. Every connection that he ever had to, quote, intelligence or whatever is, quote, bullshit because he would have bragged to me about it. And I just can't, with the entire thing. It really, Todd Blanche just did a horrible job. Like, he really just did. No,
he did. He did a great job for what his purposes were.
Sure, but I mean, for transparent purposes, what he effectively did is engineer. It would be like a softball interview is the example of, it's like when Republicans are in trouble or Democrats are, Republicans are in trouble and go on Fox, and Democrats are in trouble and go on MSNBC. What can they be assured of? That when they're in their interview, that they will be asked in the most anodyne way without any follow-up about what's happening, so that they can, quote, get on the record and get ahead of it, but they don't actually have to answer any of the specific questions. And that's effectively what has happened here. So it's just, the whole thing is preposterous. And I just want people to remember that.
Yeah. A couple other things, interesting nuggets from there. Yeah. She was asked about her dad's ties to Intel. And she basically was like, well, once you're, an intelligence agent, I don't think you're ever really not an intelligence agent, was basically her response there, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then she got asked about Epstein's relationship with former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. He's the one who met with Epstein dozens of times. There's that infamous picture of him covering with his face covered, going into Epstein's Upper East Side mansion. And so Blanche asked about that relationship and if she knew what the nature of that relationship was. And she's just like, no, I didn't know anything. Have, very little memory of meeting him. Don't know if he's with Epstein or I don't remember. I just know that I did see him and I'm struggling to remember the context around it. But if I'm sure it happened, but it must have been very brief because I don't have any serious memory of it, any deep memory of that. So there you go.
Yeah. That's what we're all dealing with. Let's just put B7, please, up on the screen just to give people an idea. All the Epstein files given to Congress are apparently already public. Okay, got it.
Yeah, Ro Khanna is sounding off in this piece, by the way. I mean, he's really been leading the charge. Apparently, only 3%, according to him, of the documents given to the Oversight Committee are new. He says the rest are already in the public domain. Less than 1% of the files have been released. DOJ is stonewalling. The survivors deserve justice. The public deserves transparency.
Yeah. Got it. And finally, just in terms of the protection, B7, please, we can show everybody here. What do we have? The inmate at Ghislaine Maxwell's new prison was apparently transferred to a grim lockup after slamming Ghislaine in an interview. So, her name was Julie Howell. She was serving just 1 year for theft. She was actually removed after blasting Maxwell, quote, as disgusting with a British paper earlier this month. According to her lawyer, the prison warden called her into her office and said that she was being moved immediately because, quote, because that she had given an unauthorized interview. And she literally, quote, only decided to speak up because one of her family members was actually a victim of sex trafficking. And she didn't want to be in the same prison as somebody who had that charge. We will all keep in mind that you're not even supposed to be in the prison camp with Ghislaine Maxwell's charge. By the way, I will be there next month back in my hometown, so maybe I need to go on by.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how close you can get because these Daily Mail guys all have photos of Elizabeth Holmes like working out, and apparently
they have those super long lens cameras.
Yeah, but there's
right?
no fences apparently. Like with the camps, like it's very lax apparently. They just have to be back for count. Like there's not a lot of enforcement. It's basically if you leave, you're like, hey, just so you know, we're coming after you, and you have such a cushy gig. Like, why would you actually want to? Just in terms of the way that these federal prison camps work. So maybe I can get, if you're a guard, by the way, federal prison camp, Brian, reach out. I would love to talk to you.
Yeah,
all right.
Interesting. But yeah, apparently they're going to all sorts of lengths to protect this lady.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.